probably one of the most interesting cases I've ever experienced, both in the military as well as in my own professional life. And that was a POW who was, he was a very unique case. I know I was sitting in my clinic and I got a top secret folder from the hospital commander asking me to come to his office. And he said that we are going to be receiving this POW. He was an officer, he was a major. He's high priority. And sure enough, that day, in walks this gentleman. I had his case history. I had his the physical, and when he was they said he was the worst treated POW during the whole Vietnam era. He was in a cage for 7 years. He was a military intelligence. He was an officer. So they thought that he had all this information that would be useful. And so he was beaten, and the list of disorders, there were several pages long, ranging from a variety of parasitic infections to calcified subdural hematomas, brain bleeds, from being beaten in the head as many times as he was. So he was originally brought to Fort Sam Houston for treatment. And then once his medical issues were resolved, he should have been medically discharged from the military, but he wanted to stay in. But he came in with a unique presentation of what we call Capgras syndrome. So he didn't believe that his wife was his wife, but someone that looks just like her, but not her. And his kids weren't really his children, but they were substitutes. And he believed that this is all a plot by the Viet Cong to try to get information. We can understand from an evolution how that could have occurred.
Absolutely.
And in addition, looking at the fact that when he was inducted into the military, he had a wife, 2 children, pregnant with a third. His wife was a very sort of passive individual. And as he was going, she became independent. She had to raise her children. She had to give birth to a third. So she was a single parent. So when he came back, of course, this really wasn't the same person in some sense. His kids he didn't recognize because his youngest one he never even saw.
Right.
And he didn't trust anybody. And so the challenge was, of course, getting him to trust me. Because, why would I not be somebody who was trying to get information from him just like everyone else?
Right.
As a matter of fact, his chief complaint when he came into my clinic was, could you come to my house because my wife has locked herself in a closet and won't come out? I can't force her to come out of the closet. She has to come to see me.
Right.
And so, she eventually did. And I treated our family. And it was really an amazing experience. Worked with him for, I would say, 6 months, he and his family. It was a difficult situation because she really couldn't live with him.
Right.
But she felt guilty because of all what he had gone through and the fact that she was so prominent in helping get him back. And so as I heard, they ended up splitting. Because it just wasn't workable.
Right.
He did continue in the military, and he did have a career after his getting out of the service. He had a master's degree from Northwestern in literature, so he was a smart individual, and he wrote a book. Is a very interesting book he wrote while he was a POW. I only had a 6-month opportunity to work with him, but I had a really good relationship with him for that time frame. I mean, I was able to establish a good rapport with him and with his family, which I felt was a challenge.